In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the SMMA client meeting script that has allowed me to close 30 plus clients at this point. That has allowed me to go into meetings incredibly comfortably and confidently. There's going to be no BS, straight to the point, and I'm going to be sharing with you not just the phrases, the sentences, and the questions that have worked tremendously well for me, that are battle tested, and that I've split tested and iterated throughout my whole SMMA journey, but also the mindset that has allowed me to go into any meeting and have huge certainty that I'm gonna close that client. So without further ado, let's hop on my computer. I've prepared a little slideshow for you guys, and so let's get right into it. The ultimate SMMA meeting script, the simplest way to sign clients on meetings. Because at the end of the day, if you do all the hard work and a lot of stuff that I teach you in this channel to land those meetings almost on autopilot, but even if you put in all this, effort and hard work and time into getting those meetings, the worst thing that you can do is just completely bomb those meetings. And so, don't get me wrong. You're really going through almost the hero's journey, right? The first meetings you're gonna struggle with them. The first meetings are going to be really tough on your psyche. They're going to be really tough simply because you're going to be very nervous, and you're also not going to have the experience to really navigate that whole experience as you in the most comfortable way and in the way that you'd like to. And so, before I actually get into the nitty-gritty, let's actually get the mindset right. If you guys have watched any of my previous videos, you probably know that I'm a pretty big mindset guy, simply because the core strategies, the hacks, the tips, those are all good, and there's really there's a space and a time for that. But once you get the mindset right, once you get the fundamental principles right, then all the tips, the hacks, they just give you a little edge. But getting the mindset right is really what's going to give you what's going to give you the biggest difference and the biggest advantage when approaching this sales situation. So I'm approaching a meeting with a potential client. And so that's what I want you guys to keep in mind. That's why I'm really big on mindset. So here's what a lot of people think a client meeting should be. And if they think so, I don't blame them. They either probably been, either they have a misconception, either they haven't really tested it for themselves. Because at the end of the day, if someone's teaching you something, you can't really blame that person. You can blame that person only to the extent to which you've actually put the information into action, right? Because at the end of the day, like if you're not taking the action, if you're not taking the knowledge that I'm going to be giving you in this video, that I'm going to be giving you throughout my channel, that I give people in my free Facebook community, that I give my coaching students, that I give my clients, if you don't take that information and actually apply it, it's pretty much useless. And so, I wouldn't blame them. But here's what a lot of people think and what a lot of people do in client meetings. Number one, they follow the script. They basically follow a static script. They ask the exact same questions, the exact questions that are featured in the script. They never deviate. In fact, these people worry more about remembering what the next question is rather than listening to the client, which is absolutely preposterous. When you really stop and think about it, you realize that it's just mind-boggling why people are doing this. And don't get me wrong, I fell for this trap when I started out. And I'm not telling you to not follow a script, but do it in a way that actually helps you, not that actually completely wrecks your potential in these meetings. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is they think that they're salesmen. They put way too much emphasis on the mind tricks and the psychological hacks. They have a set of phrases memorized that a bunch of other salesmen have told them that actually work. They apply this as many times as they possibly can. They'll just throw it in there, hopefully hoping that it works. But in most cases, it never really does, because these phrases can work, but if you don't have the weight behind them, or if you there's so many variables, and there's really a lot of variables that come into making these phrases work, and they should only be used as a crutch, not as a means to an end. Using these phrases, using these little psychological hacks, is not what's going to close that client. It's not what's going to make them a client of yours. And if you have had a bit of luck and managed to use a very simple phrase or sentence and actually close that client, you really shouldn't fall into the trap of thinking that you can just apply that to all the clients, all the prospects that you're going to come across with, and actually think that that's actually going to close them. And so that's the second thing. Then the third thing is Jordan Belfort's wannabes. They take inspiration from movies like The Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love that movie, but for a lot of people, it's done more harm than good. The fourth thing is they don't act like humans. They sound robotic, they're tight, they show no empathy because they're way too stuck inside their heads. They're way, they're thinking way too much about what to say next, that they lack basic empathy. And without empathy, without being able to put yourself in the position of the client and understand their situation and problem even better than they do, you're not, your chances of actually closing that client are very, very slim. And I'll be talking about that in just a second. So that is what most people do and think. This is wrong and will not get you many results. Instead, here's the mindset you need going into a meeting. Do not make the call about you. This is really the first thing that you want to keep in mind. Do not make the call about you. This is really rule one of advertising. Your prospect does not care about you or what you want. They care about their problems and how you can solve them. Period. That is very, very simple. They don't care about you. They care about themselves. As humans, we're innately selfish. We want in most scenarios, we want the best for ourselves, especially if they don't know you or they haven't developed a love for you, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is to not talk about yourself. Listen closely and attentively. Only talk to add value and to establish authority. Do not try to validate yourself. It comes off as needy and unprofessional. You do not have to convince them that you're knowledgeable. This is a sign of low status. Instead, just assume that they know you're a person of high status, you're a valued business owner, agency owner, and that you know your stuff. Don't get me wrong, you're really gonna have to show them throughout the meeting. But I can't begin to tell you how many people I see just the whole meeting they're talking and they're trying to validate themselves to the client. They're in this very, very weak selling position where the client is here in the buyer position, they're in the seller position, and they're constantly trying to validate themselves, almost craving for their business when it really shouldn't be that way. And really, you should try to switch that whole dynamic. But I've spoken about that in earlier videos. You can go ahead and check this out. Third thing is the 80-20 principle. Listen 80% of the time, talk for 20% of the time max. The next thing you should do is treat the client like a patient, treat the meeting like a doctor's appointment. That's just a little analogy, but ask yourself, what do doctors do? Number one is they diagnose. Let's assume that your prospect is already qualified. This does not mean that you should offer your solution without hearing them out. Business problems are very nuanced. One size does not fit all. Not listening and acting like you know what the solution to the problem is will immediately lose the sale. So shut up and listen. It couldn't be more straightforward than that. Just shut up and listen. Really put yourself in a doctor's position. You're trying to diagnose their problem. You're trying to see what their biggest struggles, their biggest bottlenecks, the biggest roadblocks that they're experiencing are, and how you can solve those for them. And also by listening to them, you make them realize, first of all, how grave their problems are, the huge impact that solving those problems could have for their business, and you accomplish that completely passively. And by letting them talk, they realize the problems that they're facing and just how severe they could be for their business. Number two is friendly. I know this might be hard for a lot of you, but you really need to loosen up a bit. The only reason why most people are tight is because they're scared that they'll forget the script. I truly believe that most people, if you've decided to start an agency, if you've decided to start a business as well, I truly believe that you're a person that can hold a conversation, that has empathy, that can really listen. But the problem is, when you're bound to script, when you're trying so hard to stay to never deviate from that script, it makes you into a worse version of yourself. And so I truly believe that by default, you are this friendly person, this person that can loosen up a bit, that can have a completely normal and relaxed conversation. But by being bound to a script, and this happened to me, that's why I'm telling you guys this, by being bound to a script, it makes you incredibly nervous because you're constantly having to remember what the next thing was in the script. And so, yeah, that is the second thing. We'll go over the common structure, but removing the script pressure will allow you to be your true self. The next thing is their benefit in mind. Maybe the best solution to the problems is the one you offer. Maybe they need to implement something to make it work for them. Maybe it's a complete different course of action that they need and you should recommend. When you add value, you will receive value, guaranteed. Putting their benefit first shows, and it really, really pays dividends. Okay, so now I talked about this in my previous video, but really, you should always have the benefit of the client in mind, and really, having the complete abundance to actually recommend a complete different course of action for that business, rather than trying to push your service down their throat, will get you so much business. It might be them, maybe later down the line, or it might just be a referral by them because you've provided immense value during that meeting. So that's really the doctor's mentality. And now that you have the right mindset, it is important to ask the right questions. And this is probably what a lot of you are waiting for. And so let's get right into it. These questions are strategically created to move them closer to the sale. But as I like to do, they still add massive value, because if you guys have, if you haven't watched my previous video, I would recommend you do so after this video. But what I said in that video is that the best way to sell someone is to add massive value. And so that's value-based selling. And it's a method that I recommend, especially for beginners. Just focus on adding value. And by adding value, you receive value. Granted, you're asking the right question. So let's get right into it. Here's a framework you can follow that will really guarantee you get results with your client meetings, okay? And it's a framework that's based on the mindset that I've just spoken about. So the first thing you want to do, the first part of that meeting, first of all, it should be some casual conversation. Once you've had that casual conversation where you introduce yourself, or you just loosen up a bit, make have a laugh with the prospect. That should go on for 2 to 3 minutes. What I can say is that the meetings that I don't have that part in, or that part doesn't really take much prevalence, I can assure you that meeting is not as successful as the meetings that I have a really cool and casual conversation at the start, and that just gets the whole conversation and the whole sales goal to a great start. And what starts great tends to end amazingly well as well. So yeah, the first thing that you want to focus on, and the first thing that the first part of the meeting should be focusing on the current problems that your prospect is facing. And so some of the questions you should ask is, first of all, what is the motivation behind the call today? Why did you take the time out of your busy day to have this call? What I had to ask is, obviously you're a very successful and busy person, a business owner, and you took the time out of your day to have this call. And so what is that reason? What motivated you to have this call with me today? The second question is, why have you not been able to solve those problems until now? What have you tried to solve those problems? Have they worked? This is an incredibly valuable question to ask, and it's a question that a lot of people forget, and then it comes to bite them in the ass, because all of a sudden they start speaking like their clients knows nothing about Facebook ads or Google ads, and it turns out they've actually tried Google ads, Facebook ads. They've done a whole lot of that, but the problem was that they weren't maybe profitable, or that they were introducing a new business line, or whatever it is, right? You really want to see what they've tried up to now, where their expertise lies in your service, and that's really going to dictate the tone that you use with them, and the kind of areas and that you touch about your service, and how you speak to them about your service. Is it going to be very esoteric, or is it going to be more surface based, so that you don't really confuse them, right? Because at the end of the day, a client doesn't really care about how the service works, but but he or she cares about the result that you're going to get for them, right? So yeah, that's the second question. It's an amazing question to ask. And the third question is, what impact is not solving these problems having on the business? What are the problems costing you every month, every year? This just puts into perspective the huge impact that not solving these problems is having on their business, and creates this sense of urgency, right? And it really makes it apparent for them that this is something that needs fixing before you actually offer your solution. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is, you want to reveal the future goals. Once you've re-diagnosed their current problems, their current position, then you really want to reveal and really unmask their future goals and where they're trying to get to. What is their ambition for their business? Questions you should ask is, where do you want to be at in 12 months? What are your target income goals? What is that one thing that makes you excited to achieve? What is that, what is your number one goal for 2020 for your business? Where are you trying to take your business in the next 12 months? Great question. Also, what is that goal? Why is that goal important to you? What would it mean to you? Really getting them emotionally involved with that goal. But this is not some sleazy thing. This is just also for you to get an idea of the things that they actually value, so that when you offer your service, you can phrase it and you can frame it in the way that they most value, in a way that they're gonna have emotional buy-in, and that's really gonna lead them and that's really gonna lead them much closer to the sale. And so that is the second thing. And the third thing is, why is this goal worth pursuing? Lastly, you really want to explain how you bridge that gap. So focusing first on the current problems that they're facing, and secondly on their ambitions, their goals, where they're trying to get to. You've actually created this gap in between those. Now what you can do is you can explain how your service is going to allow them to bridge that gap in the fastest, most profitable, most cost-effective way possible. And so to do that, you basically want to tell them, I am absolutely confident we can get you the results you're looking for, and you go on to explain what you're going to do for them. Give them a brief outline of what you're going to do for them. You can get into the more specifics once they ask you questions or they rebuttal at the end. But yeah, you really want to show that rock solid confidence that you can actually get the job done and that you can actually bridge this gap for them, and then show them how you're going to do it, and have a clear outline for them. You don't, as I said, you don't have to get into the very nitty gritty, because at the end of the day, they don't really care. For example, for Facebook ads, they don't really care about the targeting method that you're going to use. Instead, they care about how that's going to generate more sales for them. And so, yeah, that is the first thing that you want to say. Once you've explained your service and how you're going to be able to bridge that gap for them, you've set your price. I'll be going over pricing in later videos. But once you've set your price, you ask, can we get you started? And then you shut up. Okay, that's also a big problem, and just a big mistake that a lot of people make. They mention their price and then they go on this huge tangent explaining why their price is like that, or why their price is that high or that low, or whatever it is, right? And what they're doing here is they're really trying to validate themselves to the client, and it really shows a massive lack of confidence in the price that they've set. And so you really want to just shut up, because you're confident about your pricing, and you know your worth, and that that really comes across when you just shut up and you wait for them to answer and to give you yes or a no. If it's not a yes or if it's not a no, then it's probably an objection. And so if objections arise, then obviously you have to handle them. I'll be going over this in later videos. So this is a huge topic, and one that I'll be going over in later videos. So understand this framework, learn it, and then what you want to do is don't stress about it, okay? Focus on really what matters, listening to the client and providing value. That's really all they care about. They care about how well you can listen, how well you can understand their problems. So if you've encountered these problems in the past, and the solution that you can offer them. That's really all they care about. And so that is pretty much it for today's video. Leave in the comments any questions you may have. Also any other topic ideas that you'd like me to cover in upcoming videos. There's going to be so much content coming out on sales outreach, but also this 360 approach to SMMA, and I'm going to be putting out a ton of content around this topic that I'm extremely passionate about, as well as a bit of entrepreneurship, health and wellness, biohacking content, and giving you guys a behind the scenes, because I'm hugely passionate about personal development and a lot of the stuff that don't directly correlate to building an agency, but that definitely have a huge impact on the success as an entrepreneur. So yeah, if you guys want to see that and you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, go ahead and do so right now. So much content coming out, and there's also a lot of bluff in the SMA space. Drop a value bomb or a video just like this, you don't want to miss out. Also guys, if you enjoyed this video, if this video was of value, go ahead and drop a like. Helps out a ton with the algorithm, and so I really appreciate it. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, I'm going to be posting a ton of content on there as well. A lot of content that I'm not going to be posting on YouTube. I've written this really long captions about SMA, entrepreneurship, business, personal development, and I also post daily stories giving you just a much more in-depth look into the behind the scenes, into what my day looks like as an agency owner, as a college dropout, as an entrepreneur. So if you want to see that, go ahead and follow me on Instagram. Here's my username. Send me a DM and tell me you came from this video. And lastly, guys, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and join the free Facebook community that put together the Client Closers, a community of like-minded people that are trying to scale their agency, level up in life, and really take their agency to the next level. Honestly, what I wanted to do with this video is just blow the whole Facebook group, free Facebook group concept out of the water with the immense value that I'm going to be providing. And it's not just going to be me in the group providing immense value, but also a bunch of admins that I've put together. We're going to be answering your questions, adding a ton of value to you guys. And so it's just going to be this incredible SMA community, and we're really going to take that's really going to take the whole Facebook community space by storm. So it's actually capped at 100 spots for now. So go ahead and join the family before it is fully booked. And so yeah, guys, that is it for today's video. Hope everything is going well in your agency journey. Hope you're applying. Hope you're taking action. Till the next video, keep killing it, and peace.